Okay, now we have this character that we can control, so that's kind of cool. But you notice that the character is stuck in the walking animation, and it doesn't matter what we're doing, it just sort of has the same animation, and that's what we have to do next. That's what we have to do next, which is we want to start hooking up the animations into the different states of the character. And as you can see that now we're just in this walk animation state in the animator, and this is actually the default state, which is why the character is sort of stuck in this state. So let me talk a little bit more about the animator again. So the animator is where we control all the animations, and very similar to Playmaker, where we have different states for different actions. In the animator, we have different animation states that controls different animations, and also similar to Playmaker, we have these different transitions that helps us decide where to go, which state to go to next. In the animator, we have the same thing with transitions, where we can say, okay, from the idle state, you can go to the walk state. Now, I just made a transition, as you can see here. Let me do that again. Right click on a state. Actually, let's set idle as the default state first. I think that makes a little bit more sense. The idle is the default state. And we can make a transition. So we can go from the idle animation state to the walk animation state. And then from the walk animation state, I'm going to make transition and then go back to the idle state. Again, it's right click, make transition, and then go to the next state. I think I just created a duplicate, so I'm going to remove that. Right, so what that does is creating this transition, so you can go from the idle animation to the walk animation. And let's click on the idle animation again, and you can see that transitions base layer idle to base layer walk. Now you can have multiple layers to control your animation. We're not going to worry about that for now. Especially in 2D, I think we don't really need to use that for now. But if you click on transitions, it's going to give you, first of all, if you have this thing blocking view, you can just remove the preview so you can see the conditions here. Now the conditions is what's determining when the transition happens, right? So the condition decides when we should go from the idle animation state to the walk animation state, right? Again, click on the transition and it gives you these conditions that decides when this should happen, right? When we should go from idle to walk. And right now it's set to exit time 1, which means after 1 second we're going to go from idle to walk. And let me just show you what happens when we leave that there. You can see that after 1 second it goes from the idle state to the walk state, and if you click on the walk state, click on the transition, and this transition goes from the walk state back to the idle state. You can see the condition is the same. After 1 second, we're going to exit this state and go to the next one. So you can see that in the game view, we're going from 1 second of idle animation to 1 second of the walk animation. Right, so that's kind of useful, but it's also not that interesting. Like we can time, so if I change that to 5, and let me just get rid of this transition for now. So we just go from idle to walk. To play. Okay, so we're going to be in the idle animation for 5 seconds, and then it's going to go to the walk animation, and it's just going to stay there, right? Because there's no transition in There's no transition out of this state. Okay, so that's fairly similar to what we do at the visual state machine here. And the benefit of having these transitions and these conditions is that instead of having to tell the animator what animations to play, we can actually define different conditions and let the animator decide which animation it should play. So remember, a few videos ago we talked about how in Playmaker you can call animations. You can just tell the system, okay, we'll play the jump animation or play the hurt animation, and you can still do that. But what we want to do now is to set up an intelligent system here using, again, the transitions, conditions, and the parameters here that we can set up to have the animator intelligently know which animation to play.